Yes, sir. There are some videos on YouTube that purport to have hacked Flock. At no point in time did that individual ever gain access to Flock's database.
So did they gain access to video footage?
Due to a bug for a very limited number of cameras for a very brief period of time, yes, but that did not give access to the system.
I can hear some laughter there in the halls of the Virginia legislature. And that was part of an exchange that took place this week in West Virginia about the scrutiny on license plate reading cameras and the databases behind those cameras. Tristan Levitt, the West Virginia state delegate that raised those questions, he joins us now. Tristan, obviously this is an issue we're seeing spread across the country with people concerned about this, but who exactly was that fielding your questions earlier this week?
His name is Kevin Kane, and he is the head of government relations for Flock Safety. So he's who Flock has had going to various legislatures, purportedly to answer their questions and their concerns, but he was very unprepared to answer a lot of questions. And as you saw, the legislature really felt that he was quite misleading on some others.
And this issue obviously is about the database behind these cameras, very sophisticated equipment, very sophisticated software. We're seeing all kinds of troubling headlines we'll touch on here in a moment. But here's just a little bit more from that exchange that you had of this Flock official telling you guys it's never been hacked before, but you delved a little bit deeper with some pretty alarming stories from the past. Let's see this other clip.
How many incidents have there been where raw video footage has been accessed from outside of authorized users?
I'm not aware of any other.
The digital news outlet 404 reported that 60 of your cameras in Bakersfield, California were able to be accessed.
That had to do more with a bug issue rather than a Flock security issue.
Aren't bug issues how things are hacked into all the time?
I'm not a hacker. I can't speak to exactly how folks do those practices.
Tristan, your thoughts on his response there?
Well, I should say first, that was for my social media. That was a cut of some different elements there. So that did not happen all chronologically in that exact order there. But overall, the same questions came up where he very assertively in his testimony at the beginning said they'd never been hacked. He was asked by my colleague, a delegate from an area that has just adopted Flock cameras in their municipality, about videos on YouTube purporting to contain hacked video. And he said, no, that is absolutely false, that we have not ever been hacked. So to dig deeper and find out that their cameras have been accessed, really is challenging for a couple of reasons. One, there are obviously concerns about these cameras from really across the political spectrum. And so as lawmakers trying to decide what level of involvement the state legislature should have, it's very difficult if you are not getting straight information directly from Flock themselves. Voters can decide in any of these cities, if they don't like what the city council did, they can vote those people out. And at the state level, we want to be very cautious before we go banning technologies or, in terms of how we might limit the use of those technologies. But we really rely on the information that we get from those who create the technology to know best how it works. And if he's providing information we can't rely on, that's just untenable for us.
Tristan, 15 years ago, I've been covering some form of police technology, and even on the local level in Springfield, I saw these interesting cameras on the back of a squad car and inquired about it. They let me do a ride along. It turned out that they were using, at that time, back in 2011, just some cameras on the back of a squad car to pick up license plates that they could find of people who had outstanding parking tickets so that they could put boots on those vehicles. And that was the kind of the initial foray into it. Now we're seeing it develop to where you've got story after story of alleged kidnappers, alleged murderers being found with these Flock camera databases and these networks. We even have a story recently this week of Flock being used to assist in catching somebody alleged to help a minor steal a sports card worth $12,000. So there's some interesting examples of this, but are there concerns about the civil libertarian side of this equation?
Well, it's clear that a lot of people do have concerns on civil libertarian side. And so again, as a policymaker, you're trying to balance those. There are clearly some very useful ways that license plate readers can be utilized. And as you see the things that they've done to, again, get abductors, to catch drug traffickers and others, that you can understand why law enforcement agencies want to use this kind of technology. So the question really becomes, what kind of safeguards do you have in place? And that's both at the technical level for just the device itself. That really goes to what the conversation I had with Flock's representative there, and then to what policies there are to stop police departments and others from abusing them. And of course, the central hub of all this is Flock themselves. And it became very clear from our conversation, they had very little in the way of their own safeguards. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, for those that are most concerned about civil liberties, it comes down to at what point should a warrant be required? And trying to draw the line on that, again, depends on getting accurate information about how that technology works and how expansive it is, because that's the difference between a one-time snapshot of your license plate, which an officer sitting there could do, and something that tracks you in a very much more comprehensive way, and which potentially is open and exposed to hackers and others who would seek to exploit that data.
And we're seeing some actions being taken against members of law enforcement in various parts of the country over alleged abuse of these systems. But as you're saying, I mean, this comes down to Flock, this police technology seeming to say, hey, we have things set as default. It erases everything after 30 days, but law enforcement or a local municipality can go a different route and say, no, we want to keep all that for longer than 30 days. Should this be dictated from the state level and what these guardrails are, or should it be more of an issue like all the other constitutional rights that we have, something that's important and consistent across the country?
Well, I am still trying to determine the answer to that. There have been some consideration at the national level of how these are used. And again, some states have also looked at things. This same individual testified in front of Connecticut's legislature back in March. They felt that they were misled, according to reporting, because he very emphatically said that they had not shared their data with federal law enforcement agencies. And it became clear they had in the past, but simply were not doing so at that point in time. But where the policy is set, I think really remains to be seen. What we do here at the state level in West Virginia, again, really determines or really depends upon what abuses we see. And so I think if we, having already had some cities in our state adopt this technology, and to be clear, Flock is not the only one that offers it. There are others, like Motorola and other providers. But in terms of dealing with the technology overall, we want to make sure that people are safe and protected. We want to make sure their civil liberties are protected. And we need to make sure that companies like Flock that are selling something to police departments are not defrauding them or giving them what they ask for, and are not providing false information about their capabilities. So all of that was really within the scope of what we wanted to know about. And it was very disappointing to be misled by Flock's representative.
And just to have it on the record here, we've reached out to Flock specifically multiple times, have yet to hear back, but the moment we do, we will bring that here. And Tristan, we hope that you will connect with us again on this and other issues, obviously, as we see this being an issue brought up all across the country with people concerned about mass surveillance and whether that's acceptable to go after some criminals that these sophisticated cameras can actually catch. So greatly appreciate you taking the time here with the states. It's Tristan Levitt, a West Virginia state delegate here on the States.